Don't turn the dial, listen up. This 80s crew. Come on, feel the vibe. We're bringing something new. Got movie on mind, but bringing us to unfold. Got movies on the mind, stories to unfold. Let's talk, let's try.
And good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. This is Harrison Smith back with another episode of Cynema for the time being. I guess this time around I'm going to venture away a little bit from entertainment, although one could argue that politics is just nothing but entertainment. Or I shouldn't say politics isn't really politics, it's a circus, so it is entertaining for sure. And I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. So I guess I want to start off with that. Number one, I am nonpartisan. This has nothing to do with a Trump or Biden or blue or red delineation kind of mentality. I am not that at all. So I just wanted to make that clear. I am neither liberal nor am I conservative. I like to think of myself as pretty much in the middle on things, and I'm willing to listen to either side if they make a good argument. So enough said on that. Let's go forward. I hope that nothing happens, that certain platforms will, hide this or whatever. There's no need to, because again, I will state this is all for entertainment purposes only. So how about that? Tuesday, Representative Luna from Florida, they held a press conference, and James Comer held a press conference that we were told in advance would impact the entire nation. And when somebody said, is it about aliens? Because of the hope of this whole disclosure thing and in light of the drones and all that other stuff that's been going on, everybody thought this was going to be some big thing. So first of all, I want to ask all of you that are listening, and again, I don't care what side of the aisle, what part of the political spectrum you're on, put on your critical thinking caps and let's go down this rabbit hole for a little bit with a pretty bright flashlight. So let's take a look here. Luna basically said that this would be bigger than aliens. It's bigger than aliens. Well, what could be bigger than aliens? We hear that question a lot online from a lot of platforms. What's bigger than aliens? Well, I think by now you know, if you saw the press conference and the lack of headlines that it really made, it was really nothing, and it was not bigger than aliens. So let's take a look here at what exactly was announced. And I don't know, let's use our critical thinking skills to see if this really has any type of impact, or if this is just yet another, seems like almost scraps from the table to throw at us while people are either biding their time or diverting us. So let's take a look. So as I had said, on the 11th, the House Oversight Committee with Comer and then Anna Paulina Luna of Florida announced this task force on the declassification of federal secrets, and that these two are going to be the chairman of this. And this task force's primary mission is to examine and facilitate the declassification of federal materials that are said to be of public interest. So, of course, we have the mainstays. We have the JFK files. We have the RFK files. We have the MLK files. And they've been shiny balls that they've been dangling around, my God, since the time that all of these men were killed. In addition to that, we bring up, of course, one of the mother of all conspiracy theories, the 9/11 attacks. Then we have the Epstein investigation, which we'll get into. And then we have, of course, UAPs, UFOs, whatever you want to call them, and then the origins of COVID-19. Again, all of this for entertainment purposes. I have to say that. What do we expect to come out of this? Now, I used to teach about the JFK assassination, and I've done my fair amount of research. I'm no Jim Garrison, and I'm no Oliver Stone, and I'm certainly no Warren Commission. Let's just not even make this overcomplicated. You don't have to be a history expert. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that Oswald did it and acted alone and shot JFK alone. And the same for a lone gunman such as, well, I do believe it was a lone gunman that killed RFK. And I do believe probably a single shooter got Martin Luther King. However, I believe all three men were killed by the results of a conspiracy. But let's just say for JFK right now, it was Oswald, he did it, the magic bullet is true. If that was the case, why hide thousands of files and papers and documents if really all it was Oswald pulling the trigger and he was a lone gunman? Why not just come out and say it and that's it? Why all of this? I mean, the Warren Commission was created for one purpose, and that was to prove their point and their point of view that it was a lone gunman and Oswald was it. There was no investigation. It was to affirm and put to rest any talk of a conspiracy. That's it. And I'm not here on this podcast to talk about who may have done this and who's behind it and all of that. What I'm asking is, just what do you think is going to come out of this task force, this committee? So, I mean, do you really think, let's now flip it over. Let's say that he was killed by a conspiracy. John F. Kennedy was killed by a conspiracy. Do you really think that the people involved, which would have to include the highest levels of government, do you really think that they were going to write it all down? Do you really think they were going to put the names, like this is going to end up like a game of Clue, that it was Colonel Mustard with the candlestick in the parlor? I mean, why would anybody do this? There's every good chance that the people involved in this conspiracy didn't even know who each other was. They just knew they had a mission and to show up at a certain place at a certain time and do the job without knowing who the other one was. That's the point of a conspiracy. Why would anybody write this all down? Why would anybody put all of this stuff into files and then most of all lock it away? If anything was dumb enough to be written down, don't you think somebody would burn those papers? Why would somebody say, hey, let's take all this really provocative information that could really threaten our democracy and overthrow the system as we know it if people found this out, and let's lock it away in some file cabinets and folders for at least 50, 60 years until everybody involved is dead. Then you can release it because it will definitely have no impact on the American people or society. No, that's ridiculous. Critical thinking tells you that these files may have a lot of subterfuge and a lot of stuff all over the place, and there might be some tidbits of things. But anybody out there right now who thinks that Trump has done something amazing by forcing the declassification of these files from agencies that have denied previous presidents such disclosure, you're fooling yourselves. Nothing's in those files. Nothing's in those documents. At least nothing that we haven't seen already. Yeah, but Harrison, they just released, the FBI was forced to release, thanks to Trump, 2,400 files or 2,400 documents. Yeah? Have you seen them? And where are they? And most of all, what do you think they're really going to say? Seriously. You really think the answer is going to be there in 2,400 suppressed documents? Really? I don't think so. And that goes the same for RFK and MLK. I'm just lumping them all together. Nothing will be in those files. And it is not in the CIA's interest, the Department of Defense, or anyone else in the government, even the FBI. It is not in anyone's interest to really tell the truth as to what happened. And I think the only way we will ever know is we will never know. And I think that was the whole point. We will continue arguing back and forth. You have whacked out conspiracy theories already. The driver did it. Give me a fucking break. The driver did it. Any of you right now think, oh no, shut up. The driver didn't do it. That's ridiculous. So that's what I'm saying. Like, we've devolved. See, that's the thing with critical thinking. We've devolved. So here's my point. Why does this classify as a Cynema episode? Well, it classifies because the government really could do a good job. It has all the resources, all the money in the world to really do a good job and be transparent. It consciously chooses not to. Now, before we get to anything else, the whole it's aliens thing. She's going to make an announcement on disclosure. Let's use our critical thinking skills. Number one, whether you like him or not, we have a president who runs on ego. We have a president who loves to take credit for things, even when he has no credit to take. Do you really think Donald J. Trump is going to allow a representative of all places in Congress, in the House of Representatives, to come forward and announce to the nation and the world that aliens are official and present absolute rock solid proof, you really think he's going to let that happen? He is going to be the disclosure president. He is going to be the one that goes down in the history books as the person who addressed the world to give the information that will change the entire human race. Don't you think this would be a world event? It would impact the world, not just the nation. So instantly, my cynicism went up, and I thought, this is just going to be the announcement of another government agency. And we're supposed to all go, oh, wow, this is great. We're finally going to get answers. See, he signed executive orders and we're getting answers. You're not getting any answers. I'm sorry to tell you, because there are no answers to get. So the next thing is, let's go. I'm going to bypass 9/11. Let's go to the Epstein investigation and the task force on that. So I want to ask you, and I did ask Representative Luna this, and I got no response back. But again, for entertainment purposes only, I asked her, are you willing to really follow this whole scandal no matter where it leads? And that means across the aisle. Because someone in that press conference, one reporter, it was so stupid. They asked a question like, oh, will there be Democrats on this committee too? This is not a partisan thing. This is not party politics. This should be across the aisle as a human thing, not a political thing. If you really do find anything on this, or if there are indeed lists, client lists, videos, whatever was taken, which I don't think there is, because whatever was taken is long destroyed or buried somewhere, because there are very powerful people that don't want any of this to come out, and they are on both sides of the aisle. Just to let you know. Is she willing to carry this? Because, Trump is with photos with this guy. So is Bill Clinton. So are a lot of people, red or blue. It doesn't matter. Bill Gates, a lot of people, Elon Musk, who is supposed to be Mr. Free Speech and transparency. What if this leads to some kind of implication there, or at least something unsavory or negative that they don't want? Will they shut it down? Just remember, Nixon opened up a special prosecutor to investigate Watergate and ended up firing him. So what really does this task force have in the way of power? And can it really do anything? Or is this just all for show? There are a lot of people involved in the Epstein stuff. So again, for entertainment purposes only, why would any of them allow any damning evidence? Why would they allow that to exist? I guess that's what I'm asking. Why do you people think that there's actually going to be some kind of revelation out there? And, I don't want to get hung up on that. What I'm trying to say is there are a lot of very wealthy and powerful people, again, outside of our government, across the world, that are extremely powerful in world government, European government. They don't want anything out. You think they're going to back any type of transparency here? And again, my fundamental belief is there is no evidence. It's been destroyed. And the number one evidence destroyed was Jeff himself. And on that note, well, let's go to COVID-19. I mean, really? Do you think there's a smoking gun that's going to point to all of this? And look, I don't care what conspiracy theory you subscribe to. Whoever's involved in it, do you think they're going to allow their names to be entered into some kind of printed or digital permanent record to one day be revealed to the world? There's nothing. And look, I have my own opinions on the origin of all of that. I can tell you this, I don't think it was bats and bat wing soup. I'll leave it at that. But if you think there are any files, that there is some kind of real hard evidence existing on any of these topics that they've talked about, you're mistaken. As for the UAP and UFO thing, just remember, presidents in the past have been denied access by the very agencies that this task force claims is going to make them submit to their authority. And that I'm going to come up to next. There are very powerful elements inside the government and military across the world, and business and industry, that don't want disclosure for very obvious reasons. Again, we've had how many House committees on this? Public committees, David Grush, all these people, Lou Elizondo, all these people. We have that guy, Stephen Greer, out there. Oh, there's going to be catastrophic disclosure in 72 hours. Well, it's been about a month and a half since he said that. We always hear all this stuff. Disclosure's coming. It's coming. Well, you know what? So is Jesus and so is Christmas. We keep getting this. And I feel like, again, we're being distracted deliberately. We're being told all of this to keep us busy while something else is going on. What that something else is, I do not know. But we keep getting to like the whole drone thing. Where did that all go? And it's still going on. Trump says, oh, I'm going to come into office and on day one, I'm going to start moving for disclosure of this and get to the bottom of these drones over New Jersey. They were flying over my golf course. And then we get some lame announcement from that woman he keeps trotting out to do his dirty work. And that is, it was hobbyists and FAA approved drones. No, it wasn't. And most of all, why wasn't he saying this? Because somebody got to him. Somebody told him, you're not going to say what it really is. And this is what you're going to have people go out and tell. Why wasn't he making that announcement? I have the reason. I have the reasons for all of you. Again, keep this guy's ego in mind. He is the first to jump at the spotlight. And I don't care if you like him or don't. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. That's his personality and the way that he is. Let's really look at the powers of this task force. And first of all, they claim investigative authority. Well, that's fine. Remember, we also had in 1975-76, the House Select Committee on Assassinations, which examined the JFK assassination and concluded that it is likely the president succumbed to a conspiracy. So it still didn't do anything. It didn't change history books. This investigative authority, well, the task force is empowered to review like classified materials, across the federal agencies, but so what? They've already been doing this. Congress has already appointed committees to do this. It's initiated this process. It'll send letters by initiating this to agencies such as the State Department, the Department of Energy, the CIA, the Department of Defense, and Department of Justice, requesting documents. Well, big fucking deal. They've done that already. And there's nothing that says any of these departments have to comply. So how is this news bigger than aliens? How is this impacting the nation? You're just giving us more of the same. It's supposed to also help facilitate declassification, help it along. So, in conjunction with Trump's recent executive orders mandating that like the JFK records have to be related to the assassinations and they have to release all those at a certain time. The deadline, I believe, is come and gone and that they have to be made public. The task force is supposed to ensure that Trump's directives are deployed and implemented properly and effectively. My question is, how? What are you doing any different that hasn't been done already? What is this doing that's any different than what they've already been doing? So let me get specific. Here are some of the limitations that I see with this task force. I even hate using it. There are no tasks other than useless ones to keep us busy. Number one, what teeth does any of this have? This task force has no teeth. It has no way to enforce anything. And that basically comes through the power of the subpoena. The task force does not possess subpoena authority. Chairman Comer has indicated that he's willing to use the Oversight Committee's subpoena power if it's necessary to obtain information. But again, they've done all that before, or have they? Who are they subpoenaing? That's what I want to know. Why haven't they done this already? Why do you have to create yet another task force or committee? There's nothing here, folks. You want to think there's something here. You want to get excited about this. But there's nothing here. The task force's function is pretty much advisory and investigative. It has no punitive power. It doesn't have any teeth. It doesn't have any authority to unilaterally at its own discretion declassify documents. They want you to think that it does. I mean, instead, it kind of collaborates. It doesn't kind of, it does. It collaborates with relevant federal agencies and officials to recommend and facilitate declassification. In other words, our intentions are good. We want to do this, but no one's doing it. We'll see what happens here. I mean, you got time constraints. I mean, they're authorized to operate for only a 6-month window. How much are you getting done in a 6-month window or period of time? That's a pretty big limit on the scope and depth of these investigations. You're going to tackle a number of the biggest rabbit hole conspiracies to ever face this country and the world in 6 months? I mean, yeah, this task force, it plays a crucial role to advocate for transparency and oversight of the process, but what's it doing? It has no power. Again, use your critical thinking skills. On the surface, this all sounds great. Yes, we want this to happen. Yes, somebody's finally hearing us. But are they? I mean, they're hearing us. Are they doing anything? I guess I just needed to get some of this out because this is Cynema, and that is you could be doing something and you hype it all up that you're doing something, but you're not really doing anything. I mean, name one thing that this task force can do. And I've put it up on Twitter and did a thread with both Comer and with Luna tagged. No response. What you get are a lot of the shills. Oh, this is wonderful. We're finally going to get answers. Trump is the honest, transparent president. Why isn't he taking credit for this? You notice he's pretty quiet. Maybe he's taking the verbal taunts from Elon's kid, little X. What's he doing? Why isn't he stepping forward? I helped create all of this. I'm helping to bring honesty and transparency. You notice it's not always what that man says, but what he doesn't say. He's nowhere to be found on this. I have yet to see any kind of endorsement press conference. I've yet to see any kind of social media thing. You might find one or two, but why didn't he take the spotlight? Why leave this to basically a House representative to make an announcement, to give some kind of impacting the nation speech and the announcement of a creation of yet another bureaucratic tool? How much is this going to cost? We're all about efficiency. Isn't Doge about cutting costs? Well, what about efficiency? And most of all, Uncle Elon, there are photos of him with Ghislaine and all of that. Is he going to allow this if this takes a turn in the wrong direction? Are we really going to get the transparency they're calling for? That's my question. And that's why I'm pretty cynical about it. I want to believe that somewhere along the line, somebody can come in and turn things around and really start telling the truth. Even if the intentions are good here, I don't know how you're carrying it out. And most of all, I don't see why any of these agencies would comply with so many people with so much to risk and lose. I don't see it. I really don't. And that goes for global governments as well. This is totally nonpartisan. But again, this is also all for entertainment purposes. I think there's a lot of crazy shit going on in the world and has been going on for a long time. And for the record, I never believed in the lone gunman theory. I'm not a crackpot conspiracy theorist. I don't believe the driver shot JFK. I'm not so sure about the mafia. I think there was some involvement, but however, it doesn't matter what I think. The point is, there's never going to be any transparency on this because the powers that are governing this world and this country, they don't want that. I want there to be full disclosure on things. I want there to be full transparency on things. I just don't see how that's going to happen. The sad part is we have the power to do so. It can be done if people want it to be done. But I want you to think about this from a critical standpoint. Forget your political leanings. Forget your support for whoever you love and you think they tell it like it is and all whatever. There's a reason why certain people aren't talking about any of this and that a representative comes out to be trotted out to throw what I feel are basically some scraps from the table to us to keep us fed and to keep us busy. In the meantime, I expect nothing. The only way disclosure for UAPs will come around is when finally individuals come forward. It won't come from the government, I don't think. I don't think there's ever going to be a day where a president steps out, holds a national and global press conference to say we're not alone and it's official and we have the proof and we're going to tell you everything. Don't see it happening. I think it's going to come out because it can't be suppressed any longer, and it's going to take a lot of people to do it. As for all these files, we're never going to know, because the people that did all these things, they don't want to ever let anybody know. And the hard evidence, if there ever really was any in the beginning anyway, was long ago destroyed. That's my opinion. If I'm wrong, let's see how well this episode ages. Let's come back to it in a year. The task force has 6 months. Let's see what comes back. Anyway, thanks for listening. This is Harrison Smith. All of this was for entertainment purposes only. Wishing you all well and happy transparency.
Turn the dial, listen up. This 80s crew. Come on, feel the vibe. We're bringing something new. The out movie orbs mine, but bring it to